listening to Community Health Watch on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven's home for community radio. Insightful conversations, impactful ideas, and voices shaping our community and beyond. Let's begin the dialogue.
Good morning, our great listening audience. You're listening to the YCCI Community Health Watch on WNHS. WNHH 103.5 on your radio dial. Today's show is about empowering Connecticut, navigating state services and resources. We will be exploring the wide array of support services available within the state of Connecticut to show aims to educate residents about the various programs designed to empower their quality of life. We have today one of our precious people from Plainville, Connecticut, the Reverend Diane Taylor. She has some 24 years of experience in this area. And, you know, some people work is really a job, but for her, this is her life. So without going much further, I want to introduce my co-host, the Reverend Eldrin Morrison, and he can share words of greetings to our listening audience.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Pastor Clayton, and to Reverend Taylor. It's always nice to see you. And to our listening audience, we're delighted to be back with this show, very special show. I am Reverend Eldrin Morrison, the pastor of the Shaw Temple AME Zion Church here in the greater Atlanta metro area in Georgia. And we are delighted that it's colder in Connecticut than it is here.
My Lord. Thank you, sir, for sharing that bit of information. That
weather report.
I know that we need an extra blanket.
Yes.
Reverend Taylor, thank you for joining us today to discuss navigating state services and resources. This will help empower those in need. Can you introduce yourself and give us a little information about your professional background?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Diane Taylor. I live in Southington, Connecticut, now have been for the last 6 years, but I have been working for Connecticut Community Care in Bristol, Connecticut. I have been there 24 years, and during my tenure there, I have had several different positions in which it has given me the opportunity to learn the various resources that are available within the community to assist people with providing caregiving needs for their family and or friends. I started out initially as a team assistant and access coordinator. I've been a Title 19 specialist. I have worked on the central intake team, private unit, worked with Money Follows the Person, and Community First Choice. Each of those areas allowed me to have a little bit more knowledge as far as what is available and how people can access services within their various towns and cities throughout the state of Connecticut.
Okay. When I was on my way into the office this morning, a Loomis armored truck was following me. But I'm sure that's not what you meant by the money follows the person. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Money Follows the Person is for individuals who have challenging medical conditions. And so they have been placed in a nursing home or hospital for at least 60 days plus, and they want to return back into the community. So if they are active on Medicaid, Title 19 insurance, they are allowed to have monies allocated to help them transition back into the community, find housing, and get the resources, medical equipment that is needed to help them transition back into a home and get the services that they need. So they can have a case manager, they may have a nurse, home health aide to provide hands-on care for them, as well as a homemaker companion um, to help with like house cleaning, meal preparation, and things of that sort. So they would have these, we would also have money allocated for them to get that information. They would have a housing coordinator to help them locate housing if they did not have a place to go to, and a transition coordinator would help them through that process. They would actually help them move into their housing. They would also provide them with the furniture that they need. They do the grocery shopping that they need and help them get set up in their residence.
That is awesome. The Connecticut Home Care Program for seniors. Can you share with us about that?
Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders is for individuals who are 65 years of age or older and need services within the home. Sometimes the families are working, so they cannot provide those services for them, and they would need assistance. And so what happens is they apply for the home care program for elders, and under that program, again, they would not only that would they have case management, someone that would check in on a monthly basis and make sure that the services that they receive is adequate, but they again can have skilled needs, which is a nurse to help with medical monitoring, home health aide to help with the hands-on care, bathing and dressing, as well as the homemaker companion. They're able to receive Meals on Wheels, get an emergency call button, a lifeline, as well as transportation to medical appointments. And if they're able to and they like to socialize, they also have the option of attending an adult day center. So during the course of the day, if their family is working, they can go out to a day center where they'll be around others, get socialization, be able to play games, go on trips. They're also fed at that, get meals there, and then they can return home later when the family is there and be able to get the necessary services that they need.
And
They
this
do, go ahead.
is this at no cost to them if they qualify?
No, there are financial as well as functional criteria for them to receive those services. Functional, they need to have some critical needs, need help with bathing, dressing, toileting, feeding, eating, any of their activities of daily living. If they need queuing, med management, hands-on care, they have to have that functional criteria, meet that functional criteria first, and then the financial criteria. So for the Medicaid waiver program, where they would have no out-of-pocket costs, there is, they just raised that, I believe it's 2901 for what they have in income. Income is looking at their Social Security, pension, if they get VA benefits, and then also what are their assets. Assets are 1,600 for an individual, 3,200 if it is a couple. If they have a little bit more than that, then Department of Social Services may do a spousal assessment form so that individuals within the community, the spouse that does not need those services, would be allocated a portion of monies that would help them be able to sustain themselves in the community. Assets are looking at monies in the bank. If they have a life insurance policy with a cash value, that's considered an asset. Any IRAs, mutual funds, stocks and bonds, or annuities. And under the Medicaid waiver, there is no out-of-pocket cost for the individual. The other option, if they're not eligible for the Medicaid waiver program, is the state-funded program. There is no income cap under the state-funded program, but there is an asset requirement under that, and that's 49,000 in that ballpark right now. And under that program, there would be a 3% cost share. So they would go out, do an assessment, establish a care plan that best meets the needs for that individual, tell them what that total monthly cost would be, and then what their 3% portion would be for those services that are provided to them under the home care program for elders.
Okay. You're loading us up with good information thus far this morning. I just need you to go just a little bit more. What are the hurdles, if any, in getting these services, especially in today's climate?
I think the biggest thing is individuals following through in completing the financial application. It is 29 pages that they need to complete, and they need to make sure that they provide all of the adequate information that they request, as well as the supporting documents. One of the things that individuals have issues with is obtaining the statements from the bank. They do a 5-year look back for Medicaid for individuals to submit that information to the Department of Social Services. And sometimes individuals may not have the statements, or the bank will tell them that there is a charge for those statements. And if they are applying for Medicaid, they can provide the banks with that documentation that they're applying for Medicaid, so that there would be no charge for those statements. If for some reason the bank still insists that they're going to charge, then the individuals can let the Department of Social Services know, and they'll be able to obtain those statements on the back end.
That leads me to my next thought. What steps can people take to make sure that their assets are safe? You know, a lot of people worry about losing their homes and things like that. Can you help us with that thought?
Well, the state does have a recruitment cost clause, and they have the right to recover the cost of the care for individuals who receive services under that. But that may not always be the case, because first of all, family does not have to pay for that. It's against the individual's estate, and it's based on once all of their responsibilities are taken care of. So there may not be any monies left over. But if an individual really has that concern, then they can reach out to the Department of Social Services directly and have that conversation. That's who they need to speak with, because Department of Social Services is going to be the entity that makes that final decision.
All right. Reverend Morrison, please.
Yes, this is all great information, and Reverend Taylor, you are so knowledgeable in this. When I knew you just in ministry, so this is just fascinating. You are a great resource here. Now, did you say that they go back 5 years?
Yes, so do a 5-year look at. Mm-hmm.
Wow, 5 years, and there are about 29 pages of
Yeah, the financial application is about 29 pages. Yes.
That's very scary. But it's what we have to do. What role does the 211 info line play in the application process for this?
Well, the 211 line is actually for individuals who are looking for various sources within the community. If they're looking for housing, if they're looking for funding for any type of things within the community, where can they go to get help? I think at this particular point in time, people who are homeless may follow up with 211 to determine where the shelters are, where they can get food if they are out in the community and need to get food. So they would be the entity to provide where you need to go to get some of these services. We get a lot of calls from 211 and people looking for housing, looking for services, and things of that sort. So once they, if they want to apply for the Community First Choice program where money follows the person, they can also reach out to 211. So 211 is the avenue to determine what type of services are in the community and which agency they need to make those referrals to.
So I'm thinking about persons in the congregations I've served that have gone through this process, and some of the conversations that I've had with people, have heard people have, particularly in the Black and Brown communities that I served, certainly in New Haven, and even now, there's such a fear for Black folk in particular, of giving up seemingly everything they have, thinking that the government or the state is going to come in and take everything. It's and I know where it comes from. It comes from generations of our people who have suffered because of racism and classism in the welfare system at large in America, that really was designed to keep Black folks subservient. And now people reach an age and a stage where they've built up some wealth for themselves, or they're able to survive. And now they want to receive these services, and they feel like the government is going to take everything because they're going to look at the 5 years of my finances, and I got to fill out all of these forms. Can you speak to that issue? Are people losing everything, and how do they safeguard that?
If they really have that concern in regards to holding on to their finances, or I think what happens is it's not only in our communities, it's all the communities. I'm going to tell you that up front. It's just not our communities. I have those conversations with people every day because they want to make sure that monies are left for their children and the next generation. They want to leave the house to the children. So those things, if they have a lot of finances and they're trying to get services, they may need to reach out to an elder law attorney. And what we have to learn to do as a race is make sure that we have those conversations with family as to what you want to leave for a specific member or members within the home. But there is strictly financial restrictions that you have to adhere to, and the services are available for those individuals under Medicaid who really do not have the means to get those services. For individuals who have money, the thought process is that you have those finances to pay for that care for your family. A lot of times people don't want to pay for that care, or they want to leave the monies to the family and get those services for free. But that's not the intent of the programs. Again, I would say making sure that what you are looking to do and how you want your monies to be handled should be discussed with the family. And if you have that much monies that you want to hold on to it, reaching out to an elder law attorney to help you put those things in place through wills and trust, estate planning. They would be able to help you with all of that to ensure that your finances are handled in the manner that you want. But in order to get services through the state, you have to be of low income.
And again, could you talk about those financial restrictions in terms of low income? Exactly what does that mean? You can't make a
for Medicaid waiver, your income needs to be at $1,600. And for assets, $1,600 for an individual, $3,200 for a couple. Again, if there's only one person needs those services, if it's a married couple, then there is the option of doing a spousal assessment, and that would be determined by the Department of Social Services, depending on how much monies that you have available, so that the community spouse, the person that does not need those services, would have the funds to be able to take care of themselves, while the individual who needs the services within the home is able to get those services under the home care program for elders. I think what happens a lot of times is people may hear of others getting services and they want the exact same services that somebody else that they know
Mhm.
of within their community and family. And the services are provided based on an individual's needs. You
Wow.
know, and I think that's what happens a lot of times. Well, my friend has the services, and so I want those same services. And they have, you don't know what somebody else's financial situation is, and people a lot of times will say, well, they're in the same boat as me. Well, no, you don't
Cannot
know
be.
that.
Right.
You absolutely don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great. And our listeners, you're getting all of this great information. I just want you to know and thank you for tuning in to YCCI Community Health Watch show on WNHH 103.5. You need to continue to watch this show. This is great information.
All right.
Mhm.
Reverend Taylor, how can local senior centers and local services assist in providing the information that's needed for our people today?
Local senior centers, 9 times out of 10, has a social worker that's on the scene. And so they would be able to assist you with what services are available, not only within their own local area, but where instruct them where they can go and assist them with getting that information. The same thing with social services. If they don't have a senior center within their local town or city, they may have social services, and they can reach out to them, contact them, make an appointment with the social worker at either the senior center or social services to assist them with finding the resources that they need. Senior centers oftentimes provide meals at a lower cost for those individuals who do not um, need assistance with like getting food and stuff like that. Because as individuals get older, they don't always like to cook. And so they go to the senior center, and that way they also have socialization, but they also have games. They can assist them with energy assistance, um, getting help with energy assistance and rental assistance within the town. So senior centers and social services are a great place to get that information, as well as 211.
Okay. Can you share with our listeners uh, various circumstances that a family member can be compensated for taking care of a loved one?
Under the home care program for elders, as long as the individual meets the criteria for that program, whether functional and financial, and the family member resides with them or they reside with the family, they can then apply for the adult family living program, where a family member can be paid for providing those services to that individual. The other option is under the Community First Choice program. That is for individuals age 18 to 64 who are on Medicaid. If they want a family member to provide services for them, as long as it's in both programs, Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders and Community First Choice, it cannot be a spouse. So
Okay.
the family cannot
Is
be a
that
spouse.
the only restriction, or are there others?
For the home care program for elders is not a spouse. Under the Community First Choice program, you cannot be a spouse, you cannot be a conservator, you cannot be the legal guardian or a healthcare representative.
Wow.
Otherwise, a family member or friend or neighbor can be the caregiver for that individual under the Community First Choice program.
Okay. Reverend Marshall,
Yeah. So this information is so needed in our communities, and oftentimes the only place where our people get this information is in the church. And so again, churches are also very important, particularly for Black and Brown communities, because it's a place where our people come together and
Mhm.
where they get these trusted voices. And I know that in dealing with some of the social determinants for the health of our congregations, some of the things that we did in New Haven and doing now and all around has been reminding folk that the church is first and foremost a house of prayer. So we wanted to change our community. Well, we pray about it because we're people of faith first, but then health screenings and um, organizing our community, the church being the organizers of their community, workshops where all of this information, like much of the information
Mhm.
you've
Mhm.
shared, can be shared with our people, because access to information at times becomes so restricted, especially in our seniors. They get it from several ways, but younger generations are getting it, from from social media and all these things. And so having those workshops where people can come and talk to people, and certainly in New Haven we had our food pantry and our soup kitchen that became a place where people could hang out, and information
Mhm.
was given along with a good meal, and you had that socialization and all those things. Are there other agencies that you know of, or other ways that people can have access to this information in our communities?
Well, like you said, churches, because a lot of times there are social workers within various churches that have that information, and you can reach out to them as well. Depending on where an individual lives, there is different access agencies that are available. Waterbury is Western Connecticut Agency on Aging.
Oh.
There is, and I'm looking at this here, we have our agency, Connecticut Community Care. There's South Central Connecticut Agency on Aging. There's Southwestern Connecticut Agency on Aging. So depending on where a person resides determines which agency they can reach out to. Again, the senior centers and social services, 211 is another vehicle. There's senior resources. So there's several agencies that you could reach out to depending on where you reside that can provide you with that information. 211 would be primary. And then again, your senior centers and social services within your local towns and cities would be able to assist you and direct you as to where you would need to go for specific services. And there's a lot of services out there. It's the one thing I learned from working there, and I share this as my grandmother had come up from down south, and so
Yeah.
when my mother was applying for those services, she got the form, and because the form was asking for a whole bunch of financial information, that's what stops a lot of people, period, is when they start asking for the financial information. She did not complete the form. Well, after I was hired, I realized that she could have applied for it, but we didn't know what that was, and she had not shared that with me until after, that she could have gotten those services to help my grandmother. So I think just following through and asking questions, if
Follow.
you're on
That's questions.
asking questions. And a lot of times individuals just don't ask questions. Uh,
You think they're afraid that they don't know the right questions to ask, or they don't know?
that could be it.
Yeah,
That could be it.
yeah,
Making sure that they ask the right questions.
yeah.
And again, the uncertainty is somebody going to give me the right answer? Are they going to steer me in the right direction?
Mhm.
Uh,
Could you? So, I mean, you've got such a wealth of experience and knowledge. Could you? And I know you cannot diverge personal information, persons, but could you talk about some success stories that you've had? You've worked with people who are a lot better off now because they've come in contact with these programs. Could you talk about some successes you've had?
Well, I can say from personal experience, one of the programs they had was the Caregiver Respite Program. And at that time, Connecticut Community Care was the one that oversaw that program. It's now with another agency. And my mother was one who was a recipient of that for my dad. Her thing was she wanted to go to Bible study and maybe run some errands for herself, but needed someone to keep an eye on my dad who had dementia. And so she was able to get the 2 or 3 hours twice a week so that she could go out and do what she needed to do, attend Bible study, as well as run errands. And so she was greatly appreciative for that opportunity to get those services. I get calls every day from people who are thankful that I assisted them with getting through the program and that it was a great help for them. Sometimes family members, there are some individuals who want to be the caregiver for their families, and there are others who do not wish to. So them getting those services, because, and I understand that you want to be the child or you want to be the daughter, you don't want to be the caregiver. So you need to know whether or not you are willing to do that, because that's two different roles.
Yeah.
So individuals who are able to get those services, because sometimes, being honest, as a child, your parent don't always want to listen to you. And so if you have someone else providing that care and they're getting that information from somebody else, they'll be a little bit more receptive. So I've had a lot of individuals say to me that they have been appreciative and appreciate the services that has been giving them, because caregiving is strenuous and it takes a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
So having that
Parents are
little
different.
bit of help. Mm-hmm.
Wow. You have you've worked in this field so long and you've experienced so many things, and I'm grateful for what you've shared. What motivates you to continue on in this work every day? Because I know it can be a load on you sometimes.
As I look at it, honestly, Reverend Morrison, as a ministry.
Wow.
It's an opportunity to provide individual with information that will help them along the way. And I stay in it as a person of color to make sure that they have someone that they can speak to and be able to guide them through this process. And that makes it all worthwhile.
Wow. Wow, that's wonderful. Do you see many people of color that work in this field, or how has that changed over the years?
It has changed significantly over the years. And so I am excited to see that there's more of us representing
Wow.
and being able to provide those services. Because whether or not people want to agree with it, you always feel more comfortable when you go into a place and you're talking to someone that looks like you. You feel as though that they can relate to you and that they understand you, because there are cultural differences and people may not always understand. But if you run into someone, you can really have that conversation and be comfortable that that person understands you and knows where you're coming from.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Reverend Taylor, there is a situation that pops up every now and then that some of our seniors have trouble navigating through phone lines trying to get information. Is there a quicker way or a better way to help them with that?
Again, I think probably because I've heard that 211 is difficult to get through. Sometimes Department of Social Services, they may not always be able to get to, but going to the senior center and social services, if you can get there and make an appointment, they would be able to assist you, I believe, is much better.
All right. And I'm going back to those levels of finance that people can have with the economy where it is today. Is there any thought? I don't know if you have the answer for this, but is there any thought that people can get some relief, or they would raise the amount that they can have?
On the Medicaid waiver, they have not increased that. It has been the same the last few years. State funded, it standardly goes up a little bit every
year. Okay. Here's a question that I wrestled with, and I'm not sure if I even want to bring it up, but in your opinion, do you see younger members of the family taking on the responsibility of caring for an aging family member or a family member in need in general?
Younger?
Younger.
It depends. Again, I think it depends on whether or not an individual wants to be a caregiver or do they want to remain the child. I can say that we're getting more and more requests of children wanting to be the caregiver for their family member. What you do see sometimes, unfortunately, is they may be getting the pay, but not actually providing the care.
Okay.
Could you, in a situation where you see that, what do you do as person that kind of introduces these services and helps them along through it, and what should you be looking for in that?
I think what happens is if there really is an issue of abuse and neglect, if it is a senior, then you would report that to protective services.
Wow. Yes. Again, I need to remind everyone that you are tuning into the YCCI Community Health Watch show on WNHH 103.5, and we appreciate you listening. Continue to listen to this show.
I have a wonderful report I want to share with our listeners today.
Yes.
A few years ago, my uncle, we wanted him to come and live with us because we knew that he was not able. But of course, he did not want to move in with us because he did not want to be troublesome to us. He said, "Y'all busy people." But as the Lord would have it, I like to use that term. I was scheduled to take him to the doctor, and my wife and I decided that we would go together, that we were not going to bring him back home. But when we arrived at his home, we found him on the floor. He wasn't hurt, but he just fallen, but he couldn't get up.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his cell phone. He's trying to call his neighbor to help him up so that we wouldn't find him on the floor. So by the time I got there, we got him off the floor, helped him get himself dressed, took him to the doctor, had his examination, and we rode right past his exit to our house. He said, "Where are we going?" I said, "We're going home." He said, "Okay." And after about a month, he said, "I didn't want to come here, but I'm so happy I'm here with y'all now." He said, "I'm getting 3 good meals a day. You went out and bought me a recliner to sit down and watch television. Y'all have blessed me." But as he was getting older, some of these same services that Dr. Reverend Taylor is talking about, we utilize those services to help him, with his doctor's appointments. And when after COVID, when we began to get busy again, he had people coming in and helping him with his meals and what have you. So the program is excellent. You know, some people are limited because of their income, etc. But it's a wonderful program. We just have to make sure that people are getting the information, keep it before them, and let them know where they can receive the information to get the services.
Reverend Clayton, if you got some more room, you giving 3 meals a day and a room, I'd like to come and live with you.
I have to second what Reverend Clayton said. Not only did my father benefit from the caregiver respite funds that were available, but we also applied for the home care program for elders. And to let you know, Reverend Morrison, it took me 2 years to convince my mother to go ahead and use the services.
Wow.
And so I understand when you say there's reservations for, because sometimes people just don't want other people in their home. And I can understand the reason why, because some people have had bad situations, you know. And so, but when those situations work out, they're very helpful and beneficial to the primary caregiver to have that help, to have that respite, because it takes a lot out of people.
Yes, it does. Yeah, caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about some things that maybe churches can do that would help members know about these services and encourage folk to reach out to apply for these?
They can actually have the senior centers come in. They would be willing to come in and talk about the programs that are offered within their specific communities and cities. We do have at Connecticut Community Care a marketing unit if you wanted someone to come in and do presentations. I have done presentations at my church at the various services and programs. If you have individuals within your church that works in social work, you may want to approach them to see if they would want to come in and talk about the various things, services that are available and how they can apply for them as well.
Okay. Now I heard you mentioned elder care law, which is an area I've never heard of before. Do you all have referrals for families, and depending on
depending on where individuals live, we have a listing of elder law attorneys that we could make recommendations for individuals to reach out to if they have some concerns about their finances and how to arrange and set them up.
Appreciate you sharing. This has been an eye-opening conversation today, really.
About 2 weeks ago, we had attorneys at our local church sharing about elder law and sharing with us some things that seniors need to deal with in terms of their finances, in terms of their final responsibilities, to make sure that everything is in place. Don't leave it to chance. And all of this is a part of this great conversation that we're having. Sometimes seniors don't want to talk about end of life situations,
right?
But it needs to be talked about. And if you don't have the means, if you don't have the insurance, you need to let the family know in advance so that arrangements can be made. It's a lot easier to plan than to be caught off guard. But there are services in this state and elsewhere to help us with end of life situations and final expenses that grief becomes a horror if you can't handle the funeral expenses. We have these TV commercials that talk about it, but it is far better to talk about someone in your area that can work with you one-on-one to tailor the situation to your personal needs. So I don't know if you have any services that deals with that, but but it's a vital piece to this work that we're trying to do.
And I think the other option is individual families actually sitting down and having an honest and heart-to-heart conversation about what their needs are and what they want to have done when it gets to that point in time. Do they want to stay home? Do they want to go to a nursing facility, assisted living facility, independent living? They need to have those conversations ahead of time, and they also need to do their research to determine what each of these entities provide to them and for them. And a lot of times they don't have those conversations up front.
Can you pre-plan a rest home or a senior living facility for if you so choose?
You can go look at the places, and then as you get closer to that age, and you can put your name on the waiting list. You go check them out, see what they have to offer, find out what the cost is, and sit down and have that conversation with that place.
That is wonderful. So maybe I need to do that. Find me a nice place now. So 20 years from now, I have my spot ready. See.
Oh goodness.
Y'all think that's funny? I'm serious.
Are they gonna let you bring your guitars and all that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, I could entertain the seniors. You know what I mean?
You could, yeah, you could.
And go in there and sing a couple of hymns and whatnot.
Yeah. And maybe take a little off your rent.
That's right. In-house entertainment.
Yeah.
But this has been a wonderful conversation, and I really thank Reverend Taylor for sharing with us today. Do you have any final comment that you want to share with our audience that would encourage them to look into the services that you have shared with us?
I think, again, I believe people really need to sit down and be honest about what it is that they want, how they want their caregiving needs to be provided. If in fact you want a family member to provide those services, have that conversation with that family member as far as what it is that you want and how you want it. Do you want to stay home? And if you want to stay home, do they have the means? Do you have the means for them to stay home? Look at the various services that would be available to them. Sometimes family members would be willing to take in their loved one, but they don't want anybody else to come into the home. We run into a lot of that. So how are you going to provide the caregiving needs to the best of your ability on your own if you don't want that additional help? Is there family members that are willing to help out? If you're an only child, it's going to be difficult. If you're an only child and you live out of state or live out of the country, I get a lot of calls from individuals who live out of the country and out of state, but I need to figure out what resources will be available for my family member. What is the best resource? A lot of times people feel as though they don't want their family member to reside in the home by themselves because they're concerned about safety issues. But the home care program for elders is for individuals to remain home and get those services so that they can remain safe and independent. They do much better in their home than if you put them in a nursing facility. So those are the things, is have those honest questions about what the caregiving should look like and who is willing to do the caregiving. What services are you willing to accept or not accept. And then you can plan from there.
Thank you so much. You spoke about various agencies throughout the state. Please share that information with our office personnel so that they can put that information out so that our listening audience can contact the agency in their particular area.
Okay.
That's a wrap. Thank you so much for sharing with us. My very, very capable and wonderful co-host, Dr. Morrison. It's been a joy, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me share the information that I have. I appreciate that.
It's
Great
our pleasure.
information. Great information. And again, want to thank our listeners for tuning in to the YCCI Community Health Watch Show, WNHH 103.5.
That's right.
You're listening to the Community Health Watch Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio. Stay informed, stay connected, and take charge of your health. We'll see you again next time, right here on the Community